word to wise. Grass only greener when it's fertilized. Gave them truth in these songs, they prefer to lies. Destiny beautiful, adrift in her purple lies. You can't see me, you Stevie. Wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Ernie, Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. All right, today's video, we are going to be talking about the Eternal Druid. I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about this character to hold an intelligent conversation about him and get you prepared for the upcoming MCU film, Eternals. We're going to do all this and more right now, but first, if you want to see more awesome videos like this one, make sure you hit that subscribe button because I post multiple videos throughout the week, plus live stream every Saturday, so that way you don't miss anything. Also, if you enjoy the video, I humbly ask that you Hulk smash that like button because it really helps the channel out. That said, let's ponder the question, who is the Eternal Druid? Druig first appeared in Eternals number 11 in 1977 and was created by the legendary Jack Kirby. Druig possesses all the powers of an average Eternal: near immortality, cosmic energy projection, flight, teleportation, telepathy, telekinesis, transmutation of organic and inorganic matter, conjuring of illusions, a regenerative healing factor, superhuman strength, durability, speed, stamina, reflexes, and agility. Druig chose to hone his abilities in transmutation, similar to the character Cersei. He has almost the same level of power that she has when it comes to transmutation. Even the Eternal Zurus seems to believe he's almost as powerful as she is in that regard, and she is the most powerful Eternal when it comes to transmutation. They can manipulate both inorganic and organic matter into nearly anything they desire, being limited only by their imagination. Druig is also no slouch when it comes to cosmic energy manipulation, preferring to generate cosmic energy in the form of fire as if it was a flamethrower. Another one of Druig's specialties is mind control, to the point that his ability to manipulate a person's mind using psionics and telepathy allow him to take control of another person and make them do whatever it is he desires, even going as far as to wiping their memory and effectively brainwashing them and making them believe whatever it is he desires. Druig is an interesting character among the Eternals. He's a very devious and conniving character. A schemer by trade, he's been at the heart of multiple instances of treachery against the Eternals. When the Eternals were preparing for the third host of the Celestials, he was sneakily trying to usurp power from an entombed deviant under the Eternals' noses and unwittingly unleashed that same powerful deviant by mistake. During the Eternals' war with one another, Druig brainwashed all the Eternals he recruited during their reawakening process to ensure that he came out victorious over Icarus. This was a grand violation among Eternals because he was manipulating their memories to make them see what he wanted to see, to make Icarus out to be the bad guy when in fact it was Druig. Even now, in the current Kieran Gillen run, Druig is secretly plotting with Thanos against the other Eternals, nullifying the blackmail that Phastos was holding over Thanos' head as a means to keep him on the Eternal side, and plotting something sinister that likely only benefits himself and no one else, even Thanos. Though not a slight against the Eternals, he did seem to enjoy his time as a member of the Russian KGB, where he regularly tortured humans and took great pleasure in it. In the year 1242 AD, Druig was among the Mongol horde when they invaded Europe. Despite this, he was not actually brainwashing them or manipulating them in any way to make them do what they were doing. By his own admission, their efficiency and brutality were strictly of their own doing. He was simply watching and observing for research. He was even confronted by the Eternal Kingo about this, who had assumed that Druig was manipulating the Mongol horde, but Druig only used the interaction to manipulate Kingo instead, trying to convince him to go down a darker path. During his time as a human in Neil Gaiman's run, he was a less than kind prime minister of Vorozeka, a fictional country in Russia that I probably mispronounced the name of. One could easily boil down Druig's behavioral problems and moral bankruptcy to his jealousy of the eternal Icarus, and how Druig's own father Vulcan seemingly loved Icarus more than Druig, who is his own son. Druig has gone by many names over the years, chief among them him being Ivan Druig and even Satan. He's also been referred to as Commissioner Druig and Supreme Leader Druig. Barry Keoghan, who many of you may know from the movie Dunkirk, The Green Knight, the HBO miniseries Chernobyl, and the upcoming DCEU film The Batman, will play Druig in the upcoming MCU film Marvel's The Eternals. Interesting sidebar about the character Druig's casting is that Barry Keoghan is one of a growing list of actors in the MCU to star in a Marvel film and a DCEU film. Other such actors are Djimon Hounsou, Zachary Levi, Sylvester Stallone, Michael Keaton, Florence Kasumba, Michael Rooker, Nathan Fillion, Wunmi Mosaku, Randall Park, J.K. Simmons, and even fellow Eternals castmate Brian Tyree Henry, just to name a few. Another interesting thing of note about Druig's MCU incarnation is that as far as the trailers and promotional material go, Druig appears to be romantically linked to the character Makari, which was never a thing in the comics. He's also described as being, quotey fingers, aloof. And not only that, but the character's more villainous nature from the comics is either being very cleverly hidden in the trailers for the Eternals movie or may be changed entirely. That said, I would not be surprised if the MCU version of this character reveals malicious intentions at some point during the movie, or Kevin Feige plays the long con and is planning on long-term booking Druig's eventual treachery. If the trailers are in fact anything to go on, the closest thing we probably get to a tease towards Druig's villainous nature is that he seems to not care about the Eternals' prime directives to not interfere in the affairs of humans. If anything, if he does take a villainous turn, it seems like he's gonna wind up being one of those villains who feels like taking away the freedom of humanity is the only way to save them, hence why he focuses on mind control in these movies. Another interesting sidebar about Barry Keoghan's casting as Druig in Marvel's The Eternals is that Druig is also yet another character kind of like Phastos and even Ajak and Makari, who initially when first created, they were drawn to appear as just a bog standard cis white male. However, over the years, we have come to see him be represented in other ethnicities. He's been depicted as Russian, but that's not necessarily a far cry from a cis white male character, but he's also been depicted as Eurasian and Chinese. Beyond the upcoming movie, the only other media Druig has appeared in outside of comics is the animated comic Marvel Knights Eternals, where he's voiced by Alex Zahara. That said, Druig is a very strange individual among Eternals. Any of you who are not familiar with him just on sight alone, he would probably remind you of Black Bolt's evil brother, the Inhuman Maximus, or Loki from Thor, just simply because he is a character who, among other characters that are typically of benevolent or at least decent alignment, Druig is one of those characters who leans in the other direction, and in some cases, very far in the other direction. I'm very curious to see how it plays out. I do fear that he will probably be compared to Loki if and should this character prove to have a villainous turn somewhere in Marvel's The Eternals first film, or if it should happen sometime later down the road. I have that fear that's going to happen, but honestly, it's just a thing that we'll all have to deal with because honestly, if that's the case, it's not an unfair comparison, but it is a thing. So, hey, we just have to deal with it when it gets here. Other than that, as far as interests go, I don't really find Druig to be all that terribly interesting because as characters who are morally bankrupt go, I think that there are others who have done it better. But all of that aside, I'm curious to see how Barry Keoghan is going to play him in the Eternals movie and if we get that villainous turn, as I said earlier. That said, tune in for my next video where I'm going to be talking about the character Kingo, who's going to be played by actor Kumail Nanjiani in Marvel's The Eternals. If you enjoyed this video, Hulk smash that like button and make sure to share it all over the internet with all your friends so they'll know how you leveled up your comic book big brain in regards to the Eternal Druig. On your way out, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let me know what you thought about the Eternal Druig. Have you always known about him, or are you today years old finding out about him? Keep it plus ultra and sound off in the comments.